without further ado, I would like to introduce Candace Hamana. Candace is the owner and founder of Badger PR and Indigenous Peoples Relations Association. She has 15 years of communications expertise, which includes media relations, digital audience strategies, community outreach, crisis communication, and grant project management skills. She has her bachelor's degree from the University of South Carolina, and she is working on her master's degree from ASU. So I'd like to introduce Candace. Thank you for joining us today, Candace.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Hello to Change Labs. Hello to everybody out in the YouTube universe. My name is Candace Hamana. I couldn't help but laugh a little bit on the introductory screen. My name was misspelled as Candace. And it's funny because that is actually a very common thing. And I love it. So we can just start off by letting you guys know, anytime something like that happens with you, big or small in life, just go with it. Just embrace it. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for the introduction. We are going to go ahead and get started. I put together a pretty cool presentation. I hope that you guys really enjoy it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now. Once again, today we're going to talk about how to test and grow your digital target audience. And this is me. 2 professional facts. I think we've gone through the bio pretty thoroughly. I am finishing up my master's degree in digital audience strategies, which is what I'm going to be talking about today. So it's kind of like you guys are getting part of my master's degree education, but at a zero cost. So I kind of think that's pretty nice. I graduated in May, so I'm looking forward to that. One fun fact about me is that I like to roller skate and hike to decompress and just kind of get stress management, wellness checked off in my box. That's really important to me. Today, this is our agenda. We've got a lot to cover. So we're going to talk about first who makes up our digital audiences, why it is important to understand this, what is digital content, how do digital audiences behave with content that we're putting out there, how do people find their digital content, the marketing funnel, why it's fry bread, not die bread, and targeting and testing your audience segments. I already see some smiles out there with that fry bread, so I think we're off to a good start. We're going to go ahead and get going. So who makes up digital audiences? Well, we all do. Anyone who has access to any type of technology, whether it's an iPhone or an Android, an iPad, a laptop, a desktop, anytime you're on the computer or an app and you're engaging in with some kind of content, even if it's just on your own personal Facebook page, you all make up part of the digital audience. We all have a digital footprint, regardless if we don't even have a social media channel, just point of sale systems that are online also track and can share information about you that makes up your digital footprint. So we're all part of that digital audience, but what we want to talk about today is, as it relates to your business, to understand the greater relevance of those digital audiences and how you can tap into them, using specific strategies so that you can have a successful business, which is everything that we're trying to do. So why is it important to research, target, and test digital audiences and their engagement with businesses and organizations? And you'll notice there's a lot of memes that I've created throughout the presentation. So we're asking why, oh why? It's important because once we better understand our audience, we can create content people want to engage with. And to take that a step further, once they find your content and they want to engage with it, then it really depends on being able to craft a specific message for those audiences, right? And that's what we'll talk about further when we look at different ways to test messaging for your potential customers. So what is digital content? Well, content is a message directed at an audience. The message can take many forms. It can be a photo, a listicle, and a listicle, in case you were wondering, is actually those top 10 or top 3 lists that you use on your social media or that you might see. A documentary is also another form of content, an investigative news story, a video, a meme, a TV show, virtual reality experience, a social media post, can also be a tweet, an article, even live video, live productions when you're on Facebook or Instagram and you want to go live, or that's also content. So anything that we're putting out there is content. It's digital content, and content is kind of a big deal. So what types of content do consumers want to engage with? Well, this is information that Sprout Social shared with their readership. And you'll notice any time that I use any type of data point that I'm actually including the link down below. So when this goes to record, you can actually, visit that actual page and get more context. Given the amount of time, we're just kind of keeping it very loose. But the types of content consumers want to engage with, according to Sprout Social, 68% of the people like to engage with images, 50% with video, 30% text-based post, 26% stories. That includes Instagram stories and Facebook stories. 26% of the people like engagement with polls. That's when you're asking your audience, what do you like, A or B? I mean, that's kind of testing as well, but just asking them a question, what's your favorite book, or which book, which movie do you think is going to, win at the Oscars? Those types of things. Another 22% like that live video. They want to be part of the action as it's happening now. 17% of content consumers want to engage with are GIFs. And those are those memes, but video memes. They have action to them. So people like to see GIFs when they log on to any digital platform that they're on. And then we start to see a little bit of a drop after that. You've got the 16%, the URL links, 11% for Q&As, and 10%, which is the UGCs. And that's just all kind of very low level, low effort engagement. So I think the takeaway from here is the more that you can share images and video, and even having some of those stories, you're really going to have content that your customers are going to want to engage with. And by that extension, learn more about your brand, learn more about your business, and want to do business with you. People do business with people. They don't do business with the computer or a platform. So it's always important to find that balance, because some people are not comfortable, letting that personal side of them out But at the same time, if you're selling a service, or, you're selling like jewelry, for example, and that there's a personal element, a personal connection with your craft, you're going to want to let that show through, and not just be a blank slate. So keep all that in mind. But first, we have to learn how to attract your audience. Then we want to talk about how you're going to grow that audience. And in order to do that, we have to understand who our audiences are and how they behave with the digital content. So where do our audiences find digital content? Like we talked about earlier, it's all online, but there are specific subcategories. And so I'm going to break those down for you. The first is with search engines. So that's with, Google or Bing, some kind of network server that you can just tap into if you want to find out about salt lamps. You just type that into the Google search engine, and it's going to give you some content. You can also find digital content through social media, and I listed a few here. This is not all of them at all by any means. But the main ones are Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. They also find your digital content by referrals, whether that's if you're on one website and it links to your website, that's considered a referral for you as a business owner. Any customer recommendations. So if someone posts in their story and they tag your business, that's customer recommendation. There's also the word of mouth, which is not digital content, but just getting people to talk about your brand, your business, or your service is always good. You can also find digital advertisements through Google Ads, and there's an entire program that you can actually walk yourself through their Google Ads platform. That certification, those initial certifications to learn about how Google Ads work, how you can create them, how you can keep them within your budget, all of that. I can include another link for that, but that's a whole separate certification. We won't go into that, but that is another way that audiences find digital content. Also through email marketing campaigns. So you've got businesses and organizations who, want you to sign up for their newsletter. And this is how they're able to send you their content digitally, is through Constant Contact, MailChimp, any other email marketing platforms that are out there, including some by HubSpot, which is kind of new. They've been around forever, but they just rolled out this sort of email marketing capability and customer management platform that you can also use. And then finally, directly. So if people know your website name, they know just to go to Google and just type it in directly. That comes as a direct search on the back end. If you're a business owner and you're looking at your analytics, you can see that somebody just typed in your URL directly into the browser, so it pulls it right up. So we have that. And remember, above everything else, your audience is not able to engage with any of your content until they know that your business or your brand exists. And so there's an actual science or data-driven strategy to do that. And that's what we're going to talk about as we move forward. I also want this to be engaging. So if anyone has any questions along the way, feel free to put them in the chat. I know that they're saying they want you to wait until after the presentation, but I also just feel like we can have a conversation about it, and it'll be easier to kind of stop and answer any questions. If you have any, I'm happy to answer those as we go. So the science behind how audiences find your content and learn about your brand or your business even existing is called a marketing funnel. So marketing funnels help organizations identify audiences and visualize the customer journey from point A, that is when the user is introduced to you, all the way to point B, when a user is officially converted into a customer. This is also called the buyer's journey. So this is what the marketing funnel looks like. When you think of marketing and you think of digital audience strategies, the marketing funnel starts very wide at the top, and then it narrows as it goes down. So at the very top is awareness, right? That's just getting people to understand that your brand exists. And we're going to go through all these phases, but this is also considered the buyer's journey. So just kind of keep that in mind. This is a journey every customer of yours will take as they come down the funnel and eventually and hopefully, buy your product and maybe even tell other people about your product and become a repeat customer. And that's the ultimate goal. Not everybody will get there, but that is the ultimate goal with your customers. So the funnel rule number 1 is not everybody on earth has a place in your funnel. If you sell fry bread, even if it's super delicious, right? You should only care about getting fry bread lovers into your funnel. It's not worth your time, energy, or money to chase people who call it dye bread, right? I have a friend, her name is Patty Telehongva. You might know her with Indian Country Today, and she calls fry bread dye bread, right? So if I'm starting a fry bread business, probably going to avoid trying to sell my fry bread to someone like Patty because she already has her own valid reasons, by the way, but historical context and negative connotations about fry bread. And so just understand with your business, with your product, with your service, it's not going to be for everyone. And the more that you can just honor that and know that your offering is for a specific audience, it's easier to understand that the growth of your business may not take off where you want it to be, right? Because you're really taking time to understand your customer and learn about what they want and what they need. So that's my fry bread speech there. So we're going to start with the top of the funnel. And at the top of the funnel is awareness. And that's when users have actually been made aware of your organization or brand. And there will be a lot of people who are aware that your business exists, but they'll never take it further than that. If in digital space, on Facebook, for example, you see a lot of businesses or organizations that exist, but you just see them. They just kind of go through your feed. You don't interact with them. You don't follow them. You don't engage them. And that's, that they're there, but you don't do anything else. And that's the awareness piece here. And next we have the interest or consideration phase. And these are users who are interested enough in your organization or brand to interact with it, or have thought about your company or your product or how it might be of value to them. So someone who might, decide to follow your page. They want to learn more. They're looking at your business and they're like, well, I want to see what this is about. So let me follow them and just see, you don't really think about it beyond that, but you do have some general interest. Now, if you attract users past the phase of interest or consideration, they'll end up in the evaluation and intent stage. So here, these users are actively considering making a transaction with you. They're browsing your Fry Bread Facebook page. They're looking at pictures of your fry bread on Instagram. They might even be reading any customer comments. Maybe they even check out one of your video lives if you're at the powwow and you've got fry bread that you're serving up. So that's the evaluation and intent phase. A conversion is the point when a user takes action that moves them from potential customer to an actual customer. The key word here is action. So to complete a conversion, the user must do something. They must take some form of action. And the action that defines what a conversion is actually up to you as a business owner. It can mean many things. So for example, examples of conversion mean if your organization is a business, the conversion point could be a completed online sales transaction where they filled in their credit card information and they click submit. If your organization is a nonprofit, a conversion could be a donation or an email sign up. And if your organization produces something like news stories, a conversion could be reported as viewed 2 stories and the person clicked the share button on your story. So these are all different types of conversions. It really depends again on what your business model is, if it's a nonprofit, if it's a business, if it's a media group, but get clear on what you want your conversion to be, which for most folks is, obviously moving to a sale, whether you're selling a service or business. So you build that into your strategy and set it as a goal, for the number of conversions that you want to achieve within a given window. At the loyalty stage, audiences continue to engage digitally with your brand. They may come back to you for repeat business. And a few of those folks will go all the way down to the narrowest part of the marketing funnel called advocacy. And here they'll be loyal, that they'll want to talk about your organization or brand in other digital communities. So they become amplifiers of your brand or business. So like, hey, I go to Emerson's fry bread food truck every Friday, and I know that they park across the street at, PIMC. So I'm going to go online on Facebook and I'm going to, let everybody know, hey, I'm going to, Emerson's. I put in my order, and then I might show up there and take a picture or a video. I actually become sort of like their free advertisement. Think of it in that way as well. The more people are talking about your brand or your business in a positive light, it's not necessarily less work that you have to do to attract customers, but it definitely helps if people are out there having positive experiences and want to share that with other people. But wait, there's more. So we've gone through the buyer's journey. We've touched upon the marketing funnel. And now that you know about the journey and how customers move through the marketing funnel, we're going to talk about targeting and testing your target market. And I just have to put a disclaimer out that I have a cat, and she is probably at some point in time during this presentation going to jump in, startling me and you as well. And I apologize for that, but she has moved over here. So I'm kind of keeping an eye out for her. But now we're going to move on and talk about targeting and testing your target market. There's many ways you can
Candace?
Target. Yes.
There is a question from Kelsey.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to answer it now, but she asks, what if you have people who jump directly to advocacy but skip the conversion and loyalty steps?
Oh, that's a good question. I think that if people talk about, I've had that happen to me too before. And you're right. There's no the journey itself, people can jump in at any point in time. And obviously, as a business owner, you want them to convert, right? So maybe if you have someone who's already loyal at the jump, maybe you could start by having a loyalty program right out from the gate if you have enough people. So you could have a punch card, you know, when you go to Starbucks or you go to some of these local businesses, they give you a punch card, right? And you spend a certain dollar amount and say, hey, I know you like my business, you want to help. Here's a punch card. If you spend this amount or something, there's an incentive for you, right? So you have to find a way to take your folks that are already advocates of your business, but turn that into a sale or a conversion. And you do that by offering some type of incentive. If you're a brand new business, it could even be an introductory rate, right? So you could start off having some kind of a discount that would encourage and motivate your loyalist or the people who want to advocate for your business, and give them a reason to want to come around and re-enter the funnel so that you can convert it into a sale for yourself. Does that make sense? I hope that answers your question. Kelsey, let me know if there's anything else. So we've gone through the buyer journey. We understand the flow of it, but we know that you can't just you can jump in at any point in time. And that's true. And we kind of talked about how you can move them through so that they come back and convert. Because at the end of the day, if we're business owners, if we're selling a service or a product, we're trying to get a sale. That's the end goal. So try to find a way to incentivize that and give them a reason to move back through and convert for your business. There are many ways that you can target specific audiences. And here's some more of that science for you. You can target your specific audiences by breaking them up with demographics and psychographics. If you haven't heard of those before, demographics are already in, like if you have a Facebook page for your business and you get insights, you can look behind the scenes and see who's following your page, if they're male or female. Facebook and other platforms will already sort of give you this information: the age, the gender, education, your education level, occupation, geography, and even in some instances, salary. And this is all, when people set up their accounts, they allow certain types of information to be shared with, share their data, right? You're not going to capture everybody. It's not a 100% full picture, but for the folks that they're able to capture that data from, using information like, if, if you're male or female, and just your geography, where you're located at, those types of things, you can target and specific audiences based on those demographics. And then on the psychographics level, you actually look at things that include like your lifestyle, things that you're interested in, attitudes, anything that motivates you, what your motives are, and personality. And you'll see there's another link down there at the bottom. But that is with, different groups that you follow, maybe even some posts that you share or engage with. They're able to capture how you're relating and engaging with that data. And that also becomes part of your digital footprint. And you can target specific audiences. So for instance, let's go back to the fry bread example. I want to sell at, what do they call tailgating, tailgating parties. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm probably going to go on Facebook and see which tailgating groups are out there. Maybe there's, Glendale tailgating for Cardinals and Phoenix tailgating for the Cardinals. So, I'm going to look into those types of groups. They all have the same interests. They have, we don't know necessarily about their lifestyle, but we understand that they love football. They love to get together with their friends. And, they probably like to eat fry bread on a Sunday while they watch football. So, just kind of understanding that you can target your audiences also using these demographics and psychographics. So demographics and psychographics help us understand who is most likely to convert along their buyer journey or through that marketing funnel, so that we can better focus our energy on giving those audiences what they need so they can move farther down through the marketing funnel, which is kind of what I just said. So in this instance, once you've identified your demographics and your psychographics, and you have a certain audience segment in mind, I created this buyer persona, and this might help you all as well. It's a very worthwhile investment of your time to think very specifically about a specific customer segment that you have in mind. And so it's helpful to create these buyer personas. You actually come up with a full narrative on what this person, what their interests are, what their demographics are, what might motivate them, and how you are either giving them value or making their life easier with your product or service. I just did this on Canva last night. I made a buyer persona for someone. If I were to, have that fry bread stand, right? This is somebody that would be one of my target customers. So I've got a female, she's 33, she's a mid-level school advisor at Tuba City High School, maybe Gray Hills, I don't know. I didn't ask her her personal characteristics, what is she like? She's compassionate, she's an introvert, she's busy, she's ambitious, she's patient. So you really have to kind of create this buyer persona, and that helps you connect with, okay, this person is out there and may exist in one way or another. How am I able to motivate this person to enter my marketing funnel? And how can I attract them so that they want to learn about my business, they want to buy my product or service, and maybe come back for repeat business. So this is a buyer persona. Again, it's a very good exercise. I highly recommend it for everyone that's here. I do have resources. Fried bread is making everybody hungry. Yes, I do have resources for a worksheet on how to create buyer personas. I do, and I can share that. Really, it's just a template that looks like this. It doesn't have to be as thorough, but it really kind of helps you understand, when you're thinking about who your customers are. And there's different levels, right? There's people who are, there's middle, a young woman in her 30s, then there's also a mom or a dad, or, someone who fits in a whole different audience or customer segment. That way you can actually share your marketing strategy or your message with that particular segment and share another one with another segment. So I hope that helps. I will definitely share resources on how to create buyer personas. It's fun too and insightful. So putting it all together, We're going to
We have
talk
another question.
Okay.
From Danae again. Also, at what stage would you recommend creating this persona? Is it after you get feedback or at the start?
I would say at the start. I think I created buyer personas for myself. So, for example, for my business, and I took, we all know, or we may not all know, but there was a former executive director, Patty Hibbler, who was down here at the Phoenix Indian Center. And I actually created a buyer persona for someone who fit sort of that profile, right? She was an executive director. She was a decision maker. She had a lot of different programs and responsibilities. She was very into American Indian, Indigenous issues, programs, movements. So she was actually one of my buyer personas. And you'll probably find that when you start that process for yourself, certain specific people will come to mind, and that's okay. So tap into that, because it'll help you understand, well, how am I going to solve this person's problem? Here I've created this whole persona for them. How am I going to solve a problem for them? Or how am I going to add value to their day by saving them time or money with my product or my service, right? So it all makes sense, right? Once you have, we've gone through the digital audiences. We've talked about why it's important. We've talked about how people find your digital content. We then talked about the marketing funnel and the buyer personas. Once you have these personas or these segments of audiences that you want to target, well, now we can test them, right? And so you can test in many different ways. And I've kind of thrown some ideas here together. And again, you'll see, I included the URL down here, but using creative assets. So when I say creative assets, I'm just talking about anything that you create, that you're posting, whether it's a picture, whether it's a post on social media with photos, but it's anything that you're putting out there to send a message about your service or business. So ways that you can test your audience include they call it A/B testing. And that means you can change the call to action. So instead of saying buy now, you can say learn more. Which message is going to resonate better with your target audience. You can change your logo placement. So you can put the logo at the bottom, you can put it, or the bottom, you can put it at the top. You can, change the color of the logo. It's interesting that something as simple as changing the image that you use can have a different result on getting people to click on your page or want to learn more. But in this instance, you'll see here, the example I shared is an A/B testing ad, and the verbiage is all the same. So the copy is the same, but the only thing that changed was the photo. So if someone is looking at this resort, they're not necessarily concerned about seeing, people frolicking in the water. They want to see what the inside of the room looks like. They want to see how luxurious does the bed look, how spacious does the room look, how much natural lighting does it have. Looking at the photo on the right-hand side, you can see that with this A/B testing, the version B seemed to be the better option for the target audience. And so they said for a true test that you should not try to change all the different elements on all of your advertisement, that it should be something more subtle. The most common is images that get changed around, but again, your call to action, which is asking your customers what you want them to do. So click here, or read this article, or visit our website, or join today. Those are all direct call to actions to your customers. It's telling them what you want them to do. And those call to actions are connected on the back end for your marketing purposes to your conversions. If you want somebody to sign up today and they click on the button to sign up, then that is a conversion for you. And that's how you are able to see, if it's effective, if it gets your customers to go again farther down into the funnel so that they ultimately want to purchase your product or service. But there are other ways that you can test as well. You can test the timing. You can test the different times of the day or different days of the week to see when your content is going to be the most receptive by your customers. And this also depends on the platforms that you're using to reach your customers. So I shared the link down here. This is from the businessofapps.com. And this is the this says 2020 on it, but I think it's the 2022 version. This changes periodically too, but this is a little a cheat sheet on when is the best time to post and how frequently you should post content for these different platforms to kind of get the best results. I would say, however, there's a caveat in that it's always important to be mindful of what's going on around the world. And you don't want to turn off your customer base or potential clients by posting something that can be seen as insensitive, especially now, like with all of the stuff happening in Eastern Europe, with everything happening, with another country being at war, with our soldiers being deployed to assist with logistics. Like, there's a lot going on, and some people are still trying to grapple with COVID and, work from home issues. So context for your content matters in that respect. And so just be very mindful, of when you're posting content. And some people might schedule this content to go out automatically. That's definitely a time saver. But then again, if something happens and it's really terrible, don't be one of the folks that are out there trying to, this country just got bombed, but hey, I'm selling these awesome shoes. Like, there's just a way to go about it. And there's no right or wrong answer, but you definitely will know if you've stepped in it, if, somebody posts something or has some kind of negative feedback to your content. So just, be mindful about that. Maybe pull back on the frequency of it. Another way that you can test your audience is by the technology that they're using. So what technology is your audience using to view your ads or content? Optimizing your device, browser, and operating system will make sure that you're reaching your audience where they access the internet. And basically what that means is, a lot of the trends show that people are increasingly using phones and or, iPads to navigate all of their digital platforms. So the desktop is kind of going away. It's here to stay for sure, but as far as people recreationally on their personal time, they're using their phones more frequently to scroll and to swipe and to find things, products and services that they like, events they want to attend. So one thing you might want to do is test that theory. Where are my customers? Are my customers at home on a desktop? Because there's different challenges in tribal communities with access to broadband, with the speed at which things will load. And so all of those things impact your ability to get your message out to your customers. So maybe you create an ad that is optimized. And when I say optimized, I mean that when the ad shows up on someone's phone, that it shows up kind of the exact same way that it would show up on a desktop. You just want to make sure that they don't have a problem seeing your ad and understanding and getting the messages that you're trying to convey in your ad. And so anytime you can, making sure that you're sticking to, the size requirements or the image requirements so that your ads are showing up clean and clear and easy to read. That is definitely one thing you want to keep in mind. And then as it pertains to testing, again, on the back end, with certain platforms, they can tell you how people are accessing your content, whether it's with a phone or whether it's with a desktop. So that is another way that you can test your audiences. Oh, I like this one. Okay, you can also test your audiences, your target audience, by geography. When I say that, basically, that's self-explanatory. You can, say, well, I'm gonna share this message with everybody that lives in Arizona. I'm gonna share this message with everybody that lives over there, in New Mexico or in Colorado or in Utah. You could even break that down by geography, by cities. There's really all different ways that you're able to kind of break down and test your audiences. And comparing these engagements will kind of help you determine which of those regions perform better. And this will be helpful and can even save you money in the long run. So if you know that you have way more customers here in Arizona, you're not going to spend a lot of money budgeting trying to market to somebody in New Mexico right now as you're just getting started. Maybe as you continue to make inroads and connections, as you go to New Mexico more frequently and get to know more people and start adding more people to your funnel, then it might be good down the road to say, okay, I know enough potential buyers now in New Mexico, so I'm going to spend a little bit more money and budget some funds to advertise in New Mexico. Whether advertising is flyers, any digital content, anytime you boost an advertisement on Facebook, those types of things, right? So remember that showing somebody that your content is only half the battle. The other half is getting somebody to do something with that content. And are there any more questions? We're in a digital world, and I take my job very seriously, but I also know, in this Zoom world, people lose motivation to stay engaged. So I really wanted to add some light humor to the presentation. But if you have any questions about any part of this, we can definitely revisit some of these concepts, and I'm happy to help. So
we do have a question from Danae. As far as analyzing target population, what resources do you think are helpful?
So right now, I would say unfortunately, I don't know how you feel about Facebook, but unfortunately, they're kind of the best. They're the best on the block right now. If you have a small business and you want to sell your product or service, Facebook is free. You can set up an account. You can start creating content. You can start adding people to your funnel by inviting them to like your page. You can move them farther down your marketing funnel by creating content that they want to engage with or share or like. And then on the back end, Facebook does a really good job of sharing the customer insights as far as how many of your followers are male or female, where they live in the country. All that is on the back end with Facebook. Also, if you create Google Ads, Google also is another digital giant out there that gives you a lot of data on the back end about your customers. So I have a few more resources. I'd have to look through them, but there's definitely other tools out there. Some of them are free. Some of them you have to pay like a subscription for, but they do exist. And I think I have a list that I can share.
Oh, we have another question from Kelsey. How do you feel about diversifying your content between social media platforms, i.e. having some posts to IG and Facebook?
That's a great question, because as a business owner myself, I don't want to have my followers on Instagram or Facebook to have the same exact content. So I actually try to switch it up and put different content on Instagram versus content on Facebook. And I think that's a personal choice for every decision, every business owner to make, because it's more time intensive. And so there's times when I'm like, well, I'm not going to post anything on Facebook because I already posted something on Instagram, right? And only recently I've started to share the stories that I post on Instagram to my Facebook business page. And so I think that it's important, though, to think about who are your customers or potential customers on each of those platforms, and who makes the decision, who has the buying power to purchase your product or service on those platforms. We know that Instagram skews to a younger demographic. We know that Facebook skews to an older demographic, but there are organizations that, they've caught on and they've got presence on both. But you have to think about, well, what kind of message do I want, this person to hear on Facebook versus what might catch someone's attention on Instagram? Because we know Instagram is a very image based. I mean, it's your online digital photo album. And one of the websites that I had linked in the presentation kind of goes into more depth about that, where people feel like if you post something on Instagram, it's more of a behind the scenes look at something that's going on versus maybe a more polished version of the after wrap on Facebook, unless you're going live. Going live seems to be pretty popular as well. And if that's the case, then you want to make sure that you have a strategy about going live too, to make sure that you're getting information out there, but that you're also adding value and entertainment to the people who are watching your content live.
So we have a comment from Rocky to Kelsey. Along with the great analytics Facebook gives, the Google Analytics on your website will give a ton of information in getting a good pulse on the populations visiting your website. Thank you for that, Rocky. And then from Robert, may sound weird, curiosity has me, but is it possible to funnel in reverse?
Yes. I mean, I don't know how that looks. So first of all, the funnel itself, getting down to the advocacy and the loyalty, that's really difficult. And that's what we all want. And not everyone is going to be a repeat customer. You can jump in, your customers can jump into any portion of that funnel. I think it's important as a business owner to recognize where they are. So if you have to map them and you can think, okay, they started down here, but they kind of, maybe they don't understand the full value. Maybe they're like, yeah, I want to support you. You're great. You're awesome. It's like, okay, but how can my business support you? What offering, what value can I add to your life, to get you to go through that marketing funnel, but with intention to purchase your product or service. And Rocky's right. You can always on the back end, I was thinking, I'm not sure if everybody has a website, but once you do have a website, there's awesome tools out there. Again, with Google, where they will grade your website. They'll tell you how quickly your website loads. They'll tell you how, they call it sticky, how sticky your pages are, which means when people come to your website, how long do they stay on one page of your site? What content are they looking at? What are they clicking on? All of those analytics for your website are available if you have a website. So it's always really nice to create a website if you don't have one either. But for some people, just having a Facebook page and some social media platforms might be the best way to kind of start out initially.
And we have another question from Alexandra. How do you keep up with what is current across different social media platforms? Any recommended blogs or site?
Yeah, I like Sprout Social. I like HubSpot. HubSpot is great for that. I also follow some threads on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, I think, has kind of been a little bit of a sleeper platform. I know for me anyway, as a business owner, but I realize a lot of attention is paid on LinkedIn in terms of business connections, professional networking, opportunities to position yourself also as a subject matter expert. So being able, if you're Kelsey, for example, and she is small media production, she's creating creative shorts or a small documentary, being able to share that experience on LinkedIn. Hey, this is what I do. This is my business. This is some of my projects that I've worked on, this as a videographer, as, filmmaker, whatever the case may be, these are some of my growing pains as a business owner in this field. Just sharing that in a personal way on LinkedIn is going to get you noticed. And as you continue to share your experiences and challenges and how you've overcome them, people will look at you more like a subject matter expert. And, and because we're Indigenous and we have challenges that some folks don't have, barriers to entry for certain things seem to be higher. So when I say that, I mean, it's harder to get into like the cool kids club or, into these professional networks, but you have to create your own path to do that. And so by sharing your story in an authentic way, and talking about your craft and how you're navigating that, people will begin to notice that, and you become a subject matter expert in your own field. Does that make sense? Helpful?
Well, we have a message from Melody. Thank you, Melody. She said she uses later.com /blog, and later is for Instagram and TikTok only. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, thank you. Yes, that's very helpful. There's so many. And I might be able to have a list like that I can send later too.
Wow, that's a great breakdown on everything, Candace. I learned a lot just listening to you today. So thank you for sharing. So again, for everyone, if you have questions, you want to go back and review this, you can check out the YouTube channel and find this. It should be posted tomorrow. One more statement from Alexandra. Thanks. I only ask since I just barely discovered Instagram offered link stickers that you take to specific websites to everyone. When it's used to only be available to, it used to only be available to businesses that had a certain amount of followers. Thank you again, Candace, and thank you everyone for sharing today. We are so glad to be able to host you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. You guys have a good day.